everyone, and welcome once again to the Adventures Travel Club television show. Well, we're in the bus, and we are ready to go. And where are we, Betty?
We're in Portugal. We're in Fatima.
We're
heading for Fatima.
Oh, on this trip, we're going to go to some great places. This was really a pilgrimage. We did. We went to Fatima. We went to Lourdes. We went to several places.
Went to Spain,
Italy.
Anyway, look at this
on this series. Okay.
Yeah, look at this breakfast.
Yeah.
This was fabulous. Such
Beautiful
a
hotel
breakfast you cannot believe. And it came at just at the right time because we were tired from our trip, and then to get up in the morning and have this sumptuous breakfast. Yeah.
And there's Father Jerry, who's our spiritual director, and this is our guide.
Yeah.
And she was so much fun. She lives in England, and she was raised in France, and she's of Italian lineage.
It was a good day. But we heard a lot about her boyfriend and about how she liked to cook.
On this trip, we ran into some of our guides that we've had on other trips to Europe, and they knew our guide, and they said, she is a good cook. You go over there for tea in the afternoon, and you don't leave till about 11 or 12
How do you have much for tea? I mean, how can you be a good cook when you have to just make a pot of tea and give them a cookie?
Start with in England.
Oh, okay. Like we start with a scotch and soda or something like that at home, huh?
At that early?
No, I guess not. But anyway, this was a delightful trip on the bus itself. There was a lot of things to see. We had, as you can see, very, very nice weather. God shone on us with this weather. Yeah. And good company, a great group of people, but then that's par for the course.
Yeah, I one of these trips that we go to, and I want to say, RTP, the Portuguese broadcasting company, is located right there on the other side. We just missed it. I want to take a picture of it because, here on Channel 49, we do have a lot of Portuguese programming that originates out of RTP. Anyway, their network headquarters were right there, so we missed it. But what I was about to say, Betty, is one of these trips, we're going to have to make sure that we spend more time in Lisbon because there's so much here to see, and of course we see the most important things. But I'd like to just sort of kick around the cities on a couple of days.
Kick around?
Sure.
Now you have to take better care of things than just kicking them around. Shame on you.
I would like to just bum around.
I know bum around sounds a little bit better.
Because the city looks very, very interesting.
Well,
and it is really, really quite beautiful.
I love the architecture. I think, of course we say that all the time, but look at those buildings.
Look at that building. They cut the building, left the outside. We'll put a new building on the inside of it, but yet it will still have the character of an antique building, I guess I should say.
When I first went to Portugal, we've been there several times. How my mind works I go back, I guess, to the early ages or something because I never thought of Portugal being so beautiful and so modern and having so much.
It is. And I love these mosaics. That's a sidewalk, can you imagine? But we're going to listen to our guide as she takes us down through the streets.
The theater here on your right-hand side, it was the site of the Inquisition building. So after that building, they destroyed and put the theater. Heart of the town.
This is Royal Hotel.
And going from one of those big squares to the other one. The train station on the right hand side.
Well, it's very interesting because some of these buildings that they have kept, you see that there has been a lot of new building there too. And, when you look around a lot of the cities in Europe, you see these building cranes everywhere. And there's always so much building going on. Lots of old buildings, fortunately, that they are keeping, but some that they're not keeping. And,
like they do everywhere, especially us here in the United States. But, Marv, one of the things that I admire so much here are the beautiful wide streets, just like they do in Spain.
Oh, right, the big boulevards.
Well, now that doesn't look like a big wide street.
Well, this was a little street.
But this was a little one we went down. But the main streets
Look at this.
are beautiful.
That's an elevator. Look at that.
I remember that. Yeah.
My golly, that's just gorgeous. And they're still using it today. Well, now we're getting closer to the seaside, as we can see right here, and a great big, huge plaza that you can see as well. We'll be able to, if we pan around, get the guy with the camera here a little bit busier. And this is just majestic as can be. And I love the statuary that you see everywhere.
Yeah, look at that beautiful building.
Well, let's listen to our guide one more time.
Sant'Antonio of Padova. It was born in Lisbon, and it was in that area over there. Here on the left-hand side, the river, the Tagus River. With on the other side of the river, you will see, or you already have noticed, the big Christ, like the one in Rio de Janeiro.
Beautiful, isn't it, Betty?
Yeah, I remember. We actually can
Yeah.
compare that with the one that we saw in Rio de Janeiro.
That's right. That's
And,
right. But you know, it's just so nice here because it stands over the harbor, and there were so many explorers that went to the New World, in fact, all over the world, and we'll see a place where they left in just a little bit. Look at the tiles on this
That's
building.
beautiful.
Isn't that
I
something?
like it right there too, like you said, at the entrance, because
Yeah.
there it is, protection for the sailors.
Exactly, right. And look at this bridge. What does that remind you of?
The Golden Gate Bridge,
Looks
or
an
the
awful
Bay
lot like it,
Bridge,
doesn't
yeah,
Yeah,
it really
it
does.
really
It's a
does.
wonderful
Yeah.
span.
Well, and it ties the city together, as you can see right here. But this is such a beautiful area, and we hit it on a great day. That monument over there, we're going to go take a look at a little bit closer. But before we do that, we're going to take a right-hand turn here very closely because we want to visit the monastery. We're not going to go inside on this particular trip. We didn't have enough time. But this is the monastery of
Yeah, you pronounce that. Go ahead.
Saint Geronimo's.
Yeah. Get mush.
did I do
Oh,
it
you did
okay?
that good. That was
I
Geron.
did
It's
I
Geron.
wanted to say Geronimo.
No, it's Geronimosh.
Okay.
Mush.
Boy, your
I speak good
Portuguese is getting great.
Portuguese, and
That's
all you
good.
have to do is put the sh with it.
Anyway, it's dedicated to Our Lady. There are some very important people, of course, who are buried inside here. But being that we were really on a very tight schedule this day, and it was too early in the morning. The monastery was not open yet. In fact, we're going to meet some trumpeters here in just a little bit who are going to sort of they do their sort of serenade before they open the doors in the morning, and we were the only ones that were there. But let's listen to these young gentlemen right now. What a wonderful greeting in the morning, huh?
Yeah, it made my day.
Yeah, it
to,
was just
to start off with a little bounce and zip and whatever.
I think that was wonderful. Anyway, some of the beautiful carvings that are here on the monastery walls are really incredible. When we were there before, as I say, we did have the opportunity to go inside, and we didn't this time because we just have so much to see on this particular trip. And you can see here where the monastery sits. It's just almost right by the water. I mean, you're not that far away. See where the monument is right down
Think
there.
of what it must have looked like before the cement and all of the grass and it must have been just a field.
Oh, I'm sure.
Beautiful,
I'm sure it
beautiful.
was, yeah.
The all the engravings and carvings on it kind of remind me. I don't know why, because it's incongruous to think this even of Milan, the cathedral in Milan.
Oh, really?
Because
Well,
they have so many I don't know.
Yeah.
It's just, but
Well,
it's. Go ahead. I'm
I
sorry.
was just going to say we're going by a brand new building, of course.
Yeah, ugly.
Which is the museum there, and that's just a beautiful museum. This area is very, very important. It has been in the importance of where a lot of the ships left. Left Lisbon, and there were so many Portuguese explorers that I'm not going to go over the history because everybody
go on.
probably knows.
Oh, come on! Give us a little background in the history. Who was
Okay.
who was the
Now,
first
where
one
do you
to
want me to
arrive?
start-
I'd like to
start
know
with?
who's the first one that arrived in Portugal.
That arrived. No, we're talking about the guys
On
that
the
left
ship.
Portugal. That left Portugal and discovered.
Oh, I
and
thought who discovered Portugal?
the Portuguese.
I'm teasing you, of course. Go ahead.
Good question.
Go ahead.
Anyway, down here, this mosaic on
Oh.
the plaza that you can see right here in front of that huge monument. This shows all the explorers, or many of them, where they left from this spot and the various places around the world that they went to. You know, the Portuguese were and still are fantastic sailors, and they explored so many places all over the world. I mean, it was just absolutely incredible. And this is a wonderful monument, I think, that they have made for the Portuguese explorers. And then, of course, you see the relief up here. And now this is two-sided. This is one side, and then on the other side. And we had an explanation at one time too of the many explorers, who they were, what year, of course, that they left, and it was just, I mean, it's amazing. But there's a lot of history there. The Tower of Belém. What do you know about this?
It's a tower. It's a tower, and it's got a nice square building around it. We didn't get to go in, you know.
No, it wasn't open. But again, we were early in the morning. But this has a drawbridge too. Did you know that?
No,
Well,
I
yeah.
didn't. Where was it hidden when I was
No,
there?
well, I'll show you in just a
Okay.
moment. But look at the carvings on here. See,
Yeah.
it look like there's a rope that's holding the building together on that. See how that? How
Yes.
that's done? The little turrets that you
Well,
can see
that's
there?
what it is. It was. They had an earthquake, and so they had to put that around it so it would hold it in place. You know.
If you believe that, I've got another bridge in Portugal. I'll sell you. Okay. Here we go. Now you can see there, and there's a drawbridge right there. See?
This was. I really don't know too much about this edifice. Was it used as a lookout? You know, I forget these things. So easy. It's so easy for me
What do
to
you mean
forget. What utilitarian purpose did it have?
Well, it was a little fortification.
Oh, okay.
You know,
it was
so-
not. It wasn't to help the ships coming in and out. It was more
Well, yeah,
to
I suspect that it
fortify
did
the
that
port.
too.
Then,
Yeah,
huh?
yeah. And it probably, could have served as maybe even a lighthouse in the
Okay,
early
because
days.
I didn't see any turrets for guns, cannons, or anything coming out of it. It was not fortified. Was it?
I don't know about that.
See,
No, that's a very good question.
Well, I
Next
have
time
some
we
very
go
good.
back, let's ask our guy.
Okay, or we can look it up, I suppose. You know.
Yeah.
and-
No, that's a very, very good question. Anyway, I wanted to get another shot there of the statue of
the
Christ.
Christ.
That is really quite amazing. It really is huge. But as you say, great protection.
Well, I
coming
think
in that harbor.
Portuguese people are a very religious people and
Mm-hmm.
put a lot of their trust and faith in the Lord.
That's
And
right.
one of the greatest ways you can show it is by being overt about it, not keeping it within yourself, but to let people know how good the Lord is, how kind He is, how,
Now, That's right.
Look at I'm preaching.
No, you're not. But while you were explaining that, we've zipped on down to Fatima. Actually, we're right outside of Fatima, just a few kilometers. We're in the little village where the seers, Lucia, Jacinta, and Francisco, were born and where they were raised. And the little church
Look
that we
at
just
how-
saw just a moment ago, that is the church where the kids were baptized and where they would go to church and also have their religious instruction.
Yeah.
And the church is still there, and of course is still active. But the first time we visited, there was a funeral going on. However, there wasn't this particular trip that we went
This
to.
wasn't a dead day.
No, it was very much of a live day. But we are going to show the cemetery, which is right
Yeah.
across the street, as you can see. Now, this is a little village, and of course, as I said, this is outside of Fatima, just I think it's about 3 or 4 kilometers at the most. Might not even be that far. This is inside the church that you can see here, and this is the spot where the kids were baptized. They say the kids, the seers. Lucia's she's 90 some odd years old. She's
Yeah.
still alive. The other 2 seers, of course, have
Died.
been beatified, and this is a very, very special place now, of course. And the villagers, as we say, still use this church, so it's very much an active church.
You know, it's a very classical church and very well designed for such a little village. You know, you don't expect something like this in a small village. I think it's wonderful.
Well, it's like you said just a little while ago, the Portuguese people are very religious people, and they really, support the church and probably wanted to have, the people that were in this village, a nice church, and which they have, as that we can see right here. And I think it's a really beautiful church inside. And as we say, it's it's still used on a daily basis. Daily mass is still celebrated there.
Look at how tall it is. See the gentleman there, and how far up the doors are from them, and they're not little men.
No, that's right. And the organ, of course, was located right above
Oh,
there.
Father Jerry's going to give a little sermon from up
we
there,
got out
huh?
of here real quick before he did that.
We lift him in the pulpit.
Right. Anyway, you can see the statue of Our Lady of Fatima there. Now, these graves that you see here are relatives of the seers who were buried here. The two children that did die, they were buried here, but then they exhumed their bodies and they are buried in the basilica in Fatima, which, as said, again, is a few kilometers away from here. But the cemetery, as we can see, is very well kept up, and we can see that it must be visited all the time because these are mostly fresh flowers that are on most of these graves that are right here. It's also become a tourist attraction, kind of,
I love to go to cemeteries anyway. We always try to make a point of hitting a cemetery somewhere along the line, the road, because they tell such history of the people that were living there at one time. It's just interesting.
No, it is. It very much so. And you see there are some new graves that are there as well. Anyway, these little crypts that are right here too have windows in them, and you can sort of just take a look right inside if you want to. Anyway, we're going to move on now, and we're going to go to the site where the angel first appeared to the three children. And this is it was called the Angel of Portugal, and announced that the Blessed Virgin would be seen. And we've also just not very far away from this is all a very small little area, I should say, are the houses of the seers, of both Lucia and also Jacinta and Francisco. And so we wanted to visit the houses here. The houses have been sort of, I want to say, updated a little bit. I mean, they have they keep them up very, very nicely. They're all nice and whitewashed, and there are a few of the pieces of furniture that are inside, the actual furniture that was there when the family used it. And this is right behind the house. We can see right here where some of the animals are kept.
Well, that's what they did.
Yep, that's true. And some people still doing that, of course. Now, this is the well that the angel again appeared at, this particular spot. And this well was used, of course, by the families, and the well is still being used today. You can draw water from it, or you can also, what some of the people do is do their laundry right there,
Wash their clothes, sure.
Yeah, this is our guy is showing us.
Scrub them. They don't last very long that way when you have to scrub them on a rock.
No, I don't suppose so. Anyway, this is a very interesting statue that depicts the angel.
It's odd, isn't it, though?
Pardon me?
It's odd. O-D-D, odd.
It is, yeah, it is different, and I'm sure
Oh, you're like, that's a better word, isn't it? Different.
Than odd?
Yeah, okay. But it still sounds nicer. But it's not like a real body.
No, well, it's probably how the artist,
They saw an angel.
saw an angel coming through the clouds, evidently. Yeah. And there is the little orchards that you can see right here, too.
That's a fig tree.
So this is still very much of a rural area. And, Betty, there's one place, though, that we didn't go to because it wasn't open here. There's also a small museum in the little village here. And so for people that do want to go to Fatima, make sure that you visit the village as well, because this is a very, very important spot. If you visit just Fatima alone and don't visit the village, I think you've missed probably a good portion of it. We're going now to the house of Francisco and Jacinta, and we're going to meet a nephew of Lucia. He's here. We saw him a couple of years ago, and we're going to have the opportunity now to see him one more time as he explains a little bit about this house where 11 people lived.
Família de Lucia.
Oh, família de
Era
Lucia.
a nephew of Lucia. E a minha nephew of Jacinta and Francisco. Portanto, desse pinto da data 1920, do funeral of Jacinta. E this one, a grandfather for me, no? The data 1920 e this 1915, no 14, 15. This house justo 3 rooms, 11 people. This is Sulip girls, this is Sulip Father and Mother. In another one room after the kitchen Sulip boys, 5 boys, 4 girls, father and mother, 11 people. So, okay. This is the kitchen, the cellar, and the room.
And these are some of the family members, of course, that were there. Benny, can you imagine? Now, this was a tiny little place, but can you imagine 11 people living inside that?
Must have stacked them up one on top of the other.
There were really, there were probably all working in the fields most of the time. Anyway, now we have come to the spot of apparitions, and this, of course, is Fatima, which most of the people know. We'll see the chapel of apparitions here, and also the huge basilica as well.
Which was when 3 little shepherds called Francisco, Jacinta, and Lucia used to bring here their flock of sheep. By that time, this was all the fields for pasture. And 1 year before, in 1916, they were visited by the angel of Portugal, which prepared them for the visit for the apparition of Our Lady.
It's kind of hard to imagine that at one time this was all an open field, and this is where the children, of course, as the guy just said, would take the sheep and would tend them here. Of course, this now, as you can see, it's all cemented over because
Slim pickings, huh?
well, there are millions of pilgrims that come here, of course, every year, and of course, the time of year we were here, it was a little bit chilly, but the nice thing was there were not an awful lot of people there. So this is the chapel right here of apparitions that you can see. And this is the spot where it's reported that Our Lady of Fatima appeared. Now, there was a tree right there, just like the tree that you see over here. But so many people wanted to take little souvenirs that tree no longer exists. However, the other tree still does exist, that is right here. And you can see that this is built like 2 great big arms coming out into the plaza, sort of to welcome the pilgrims as they come up to the basilica here. It's a beautiful basilica, and as we mentioned before, the 2 children that did die, Jacinta and Francisco, were buried in the little cemetery that we saw before, but then they were reburied here after this basilica was made. Now, right in front of us, you can see this little portico right here. The Holy Father visited here, and they put this up for his visit, and they never took it down. They've left it there, and so, as you can see, there was an altar there in front as well. And this shows Father Jerry at his appointed time that we can get into the basilica, because there are so many masses going on, and there are things that are going on around here almost all of the time. There was a mass right now as we just sort of poked our head inside to see, but we will come back in a little bit, because we wanted to do the rosary here in the basilica while we were visiting it, and then after that we were going to have our mass down at the Chapel of Apparitions, which of course is a very, very moving thing to experience. Don't you think so?
Yeah. I was glad we did the rosary inside, though, because it did get kind of windy and cold.
A little cold.
But one of the big things that impresses me about being there at Fatima is the plaza itself.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, has such wide, extended arms to welcome everybody. And when the events happen I'm trying to think of for the dates that the Blessed Mother has appeared. There's no room there. I mean, every place is taken. I happened to be there one time, and they take the Blessed Mother out of the little glass cage, and they walk all around with her, and they sing Ave, Ave Maria, and they take out white handkerchiefs or Kleenexes or whatever you have, and then as they're putting her back into her little niche, Ave, and they wave goodbye to her. Oh, man, I'll tell you, it was something else. You get tears.
Well, I imagine it's something, as you say. Now, we just saw a moment ago the grave of Francisco, and this is the grave, or the tomb, I guess we should say, where Jacinta is buried. And you notice that there's another one over here on the right-hand side of the pictures you can see, and that's reserved for Lucia. Now, she's 90-some-odd years old, and she is a nun living in a convent now, and that will be her resting place right there. So this is wonderful, wonderful for us to be able to visit. And I, again, Betty, have to reiterate, I'm glad it was cold. I'm glad it was kind of windy because we were the only ones there.
Yes, that was great.
Ave Maria, gratia plena, Dominus tecum, benedicat tu. Ave, Ave, Ave Maria, Ave, Ave Maria. The Lord be with you. And also with you. A reading from the Holy Gospel according to John. Glory to you, Lord. Near the cross of Jesus stood his mother and his mother's sister, Mary the wife of Clopas and Mary of Magdala. Jesus, seeing his mother and the disciple he loved standing near her, Jesus said to his mother, "Woman, this is your son." Then the disciple he said, "This is your mother." And from that moment the disciple made a place for her in his home. The Gospel of the Lord.
Well, it was a wonderful experience to have both the Rosary and then that followed by the Mass there in the Chapel of Apparitions. But now it's the next day, and it's time for us to get on our way because we're going to be leaving Fatima. And before we do, though, there's a nice statue that you can see right here in this roundabout of the children. And I think this was the new one. I think there was a couple of them. Betty, we're going to leave Portugal already.
I
Do you
know,
realize
I
that?
know. Time goes so fast,
It
doesn't
does.
it?
And look, there's nobody at the border.
Well, that's what we had
go
before.
right on
Wasn't
through,
that
folks.
wonderful? Yeah. You see, we are so secure that they don't need security for us. We're a tour group of holy, good people. So,
All righty. I'm glad that they knew that we were coming, so that they
yeah,
they didn't
sure.
want to stop us. Sure. Okay.
Yeah.
Anyway, we have now left, and we are left the country, and now we're in a new country. We're in Spain.
Yeah, I
And
like
we have a lot
Spain.
to do here. But you want to tell the people about your phone number?
Well, my phone number is 559-488-7443. Call and see where we're going to be going.
See you next time. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.